So recently, guys, I've been working on about 4 different builds, and I'll demonstrate the biggest build I've been working on, which is what they categorized it as my defense build. So I've got in my defense build, which I need to override it, but because I found a better assault rifle, lower gear score but better stats. Uh, So in this build, I've got my M60, which does 22,000 damage, 575 RPM. And that's only because it's got a Allegro on it, guys. And I mean, this thing it's decent. Like, it's a decent build. I mean, I want to swap Preservation out for something else, but I haven't found anything good. I haven't found, like, Unhinged or anything like that yet. But once I find an SMG with Unhinged, I'm definitely going to swap it out for that. And then I run Military G36, which has Optimist, which I have to have 5 or less, as you can tell, and my gear's not set up for that. So that's not active. But I want to activate it just to kind of see how well it does. But I got Allegro and Recharged. While equipped, skills deployed at full armor have 20 plus 25% duration, charges, and ammo, which is useful for like flame turrets and whatnot. It's got a whopping 750 RPM for an assault rifle. That's because of the Allegro. It's got a 30 round mag, and it's got 14.2 thousand damage per shot, which is pretty good. Now let me kind of demonstrate. I'm going to demonstrate both against normals, like veterans and elites. So, granted, now mind you, with my gear, I do have some damage to elites, and I have protection from elites. So, I don't have damage to elites on that. I think this one, no. I'm trying to remember what piece of gear had damage to elites. I know some of my gear does. Ah, there it is, 7%. Yeah, that's all I have for damage to elites. If you guys really want to make a massive damage to elites build, use Badger Tough. That, I mean, give or take, that's pretty quick. I mean, now, this is my assault rifle. 2 clips and that elites down. Now let's go back to, say, veteran here. So you saw his last damage per hit was about 23,000. So against like the veteran, this is where a lot of people get you with the videos that are like, oh, how do you get your build that high? Now, keep in mind, 23,000, my last shot, right? It's their damage to their elites that's buffing their damage. Like, I mean, it's as simple as that, guys. Like, now, granted, this build is actually, like, especially my LMG, I'll actually demonstrate kind of how good this build really is. I mean, now, anyways, so I'll demonstrate once I'm done showing you my other builds. Okay, so now the other builds I've been working on is a AR build right there, which I'm in a AR build, and then I've got my assault build, which is like mostly I'm working on making a one-shot sniper build. And then I've got my Dark Zone support. Now, a lot of people say, why, are asking me for my Dark Zone build, why am I using a Police T821? And I will show you why. Now, mind you, I can't quite get quite as much crit chance as I want because I have not been lucky in finding the Russian red dot site. But I've got, so on my Police T821, I've got the, oh, wait, that's not the right one. There we go. Anyways, so I got the Osprey 9mm suppressor, paired with the critical hit chance of the small laser pointer that you get from the Demolitionist. Extended 9mm rig. I mean, the reload speed is reduced, but meh. I get 20 rounds, plus 20 rounds, and I want to swap this out for the Russian Red Dot Sight, which gives me the 5% crit chance, but I'll have to wait on that. But anyways, not even through a full 53 rounds and I dropped a veteran. And I mean, what's pretty bad is I'm doing more damage than I am with my assault rifle to a veteran. Now, okay guys, let's kick in my damage to elites, shall we? Whoops, I didn't mean to put it to name. Whoops. Because on this build, I've got a little bit damage to elites. Because, as I'm sure most of you are aware, I've got critical hit damage there. Got critical hit chance. I got health. So my health is up there. I got accuracy. So I'm hitting all my shots. And then I've got the 10% SMG damage, 4% weapon damage, another 5% critical hit chance. And then my Javelin Mask, which is giving me like total armor. I might swap that out for that and kind of roll with it to see how well it does. Because it gives me that 17% damage to elites. But this one is the one I'm probably going to use because it gives me 27% damage to elites. Which, as centered headshot kills grant status effect immunity for 10 seconds. And then, yeah, so I'll use that. So now, let's kind of see how well what that does for me. So, now, look at that. For an SMG, a whopping 37,000 for hitting critical hits. 45,000 right there. Now, let's test, okay, so that's that. Now, let's test this whole thing against, like, say, a veteran. Even that veteran, it's still 29,000 at critting. Now, a big thing when you're doing an SMG build is definitely pay attention to the drop-off, damage drop-off. And the critical strike range is between 0 and 30 yards. So, you basically with SMG, in order to be effective, let me get a target to pop up that's super close, maybe. To kind of give you an idea. Come on, give me a target that's close. There we go. Even with up close, even against a veteran, which there's no damage, which means I'm not getting my damage to elites, that's still giving me 35,000 points. Now, some people say, oh, well, why don't you run a Vector? Okay, so yeah, I get that. And now, of course, unfortunately, guys, I don't have a Vector to show you, but from what I've seen, Vectors don't do as well. They just don't do as well. I mean, sure, you could get there. So, let's look at the stats here, guys. So, with these stats, let's go to bone, weapon talents, weapons. So, I'm getting a 36% critical hit chance, 29% critical hit damage, 58% headshot damage. Reload time is about 2 seconds. So, weapon handling, all weapon damage bonus is 4%. SMG damage bonus is 25%, which is pretty good. Now, and my damage to elites, is 27%, obviously. Yeah, I mean, it's still a work in progress build. So I think this is probably the build I'm going to demonstrate. So let's march right over onto, let's go over DZ East here and see what happens. Try to find someone that we can go rogue on and see how well it works. Now, I will be comparing my LMG build, my defense build, with my... I'm going to be comparing my LMG build, my defense build with this build, both of them against players, so I can show you, like, people... I've been noticing a lot that people here lately have been saying that LMGs are the meta, and because, I mean, I would have to agree with them, because this last patch, as I'm sure most of you know, the safeguard that most people used on SMGs took a pretty big hit. It got nerfed pretty hardcore, and a lot of people were actually pretty pissed off about it. I mean, to be honest, I don't blame them. Like, I was kind of pissed off about it too, because I had a freaking killer, before this build, I had a killer SMG build. And it had Safeguard on it, and it was a really killer SMG build. And then they nerfed Safeguard, and it's like, seriously? Like, come on, motherfuckers. Like, come on now. This is just... it pissed me off. I mean, I was mad. It's plain and simple. Okay, so let's see. Doesn't look like anyone's extracting anything. Is there any... the landmarks that are being taken over? Well, we'll just have to run around until we find something. I guess. If one of my friends was on, I would just hit him up and be like, "Hey man, I need you for a YouTube video. Can you come help?"
Enemy patrol detected.
Well, let's demonstrate against these guys. Okay, see how, like, I'm obviously more than 30 yards away. Now let's get real in close to these assholes. Now see, okay, so this build, I got my ass kicked, right? Even against NPCs. Lowly NPCs. Normals. So obviously I'm gonna get my ass kicked against a player. Obviously, I'm working on building this build for PvP, but until I get my stuff up in the, like, above 500 and all that good stuff, get higher stats on it, it's not going to be viable for PvP. Now my SMG build, on the other hand, is viable for PvP. This build is viable for PvP. And that is solely because I have a bunch of armor. Well, I have about 142,000 armor, but my LMG is what really causes the whole... Hold on, guys, I'll demonstrate in a minute. I'm just gotta go, and I almost forgot I got my daily rewards. I gotta pick up my 2 daily rewards from the DZ, so I gotta pick those up real quick. Oh, they're available in 2 hours. Okay. I thought I picked them up earlier than this, but I guess not. So, shut up, bandit. No need to growl.
Exiting safe room.
Anyway, so I will show you. I really wish I could get my hands on an LMG that has unhinged. Because, I mean, you sacrifice 35% weapon handling but you gain 25% weapon damage. Which, in my opinion, is actually pretty impressive. Like, no, let's try to find, like, NPCs or a player, whichever I come across first, really. Whether it be a patrol, or whether it be a... Strange. Man, it's like the dark zone is dead. Jeez. normally you see people going rogue and whatnot quite a bit, but it's like here lately the DZ's been pretty dead. So I don't blame them because, I mean, this build, as you saw earlier, I normally get about 223,000 armor, and obviously I'm only getting 142,000 armor, which is, like, cuts me down by like 80,000 armor points. It's ridiculous. I get that they're trying to even it out for, like, for players that are, like, Glory Gear, Skull War, that come in here. And it's like, well, really, you're not evening it out. If anything, in my honest to God opinion, if anything, you're only making things worse by reducing the amount of armor a player gets in the DZ. You're only making things worse. I mean, I get that most people probably only, like, they prefer to have, like, you know, I get that most people will, you know, like, I get that most people go into the occupied dark zone and your stats are buffed in there, like you get your normal armor and whatnot, so it's like, I get that, but in this event, it's just annoying, to be honest, because I'm not one of those players. Oh, I dabble in the occupied DZs, but I'm more of a regular DZ type of person, because, as you know, in the first division, there was no occupied DZs. I mean, it's like, you know, it's just ridiculous, man. Anyways.
Enemy patrol detected.
There we go, there's an enemy patrol. I wouldn't have died if it hadn't been for that fucking rusher, but you can tell the clear difference between the two builds. Obviously, I mean, you can clearly tell the difference between the two builds. But yeah, guys, I would suggest right now with, I mean, don't get me wrong, trust me, I've gone up against vector builds. Vector builds are still a viable build in PvP. But at this point, I've gone up against them. Yes, I have died against them a few times. But to my knowledge, at this point in time, I would definitely say that the LMG is a better build right now. For right now, anyways. I mean, who knows? That might change in the next update. You never know. But for right now, the LMG is definitely like the meta, I would say. In my honest opinion. I mean, you never know, to be honest. It's really hard to say, but from what my experience is the LMG is meta right now. So I think that will do it for today's video, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, and this is, once again, this is, hold on, let me get this in this. This is Reaper Gaming 23, and have a nice day.